faster than switching tools. But I have a solution for this, Envato. You find the perfect shot, but it's locked behind another subscription. You need music, but the license is confusing. You want to create something with AI, but you don't know which model is going to get you the result you actually want. That's where Envato fits into your workflow. You can search millions of creative assets, use AI tools for video, images, and audio, and pull licensed music, fonts, templates, stock footage, and visuals without jumping between platforms. So instead of breaking your creative flow, Envato helps you keep the whole process moving. That's one place to find, create, and finish your next creative.
Hello, good morning. Let's take our seats and then begin the program. And those online, thank you for your patience. We are just beginning now. And apologies for the delay. Hello, good morning. Let's take our seats and then begin the program. And those online, all right, good morning and welcome to the Africa Coalition for Academic Freedom press conference, which is to launch the Academic Freedom Monitoring Report 2025. I am Conrad Kakraba. I'm a communications consultant for ACAF, and I'll be moderating today's session. Those on Zoom, thank you also for joining across the world. and we would be taking you at some point in the program if you have any contributions, and you can also type in the text section so that we can also read your comments when we reach there. So the Africa Coalition for Academic Freedom started its monitoring report, and this is the maiden edition that will be launched. That's for 2025, and we are doing this on the theme Truth Matters, Defending Academic Freedom and Democratic Spaces in Africa. And today we're going to be hearing the findings of the monitoring report, and then also recommendations, as well as the call to action. At this juncture, I would like us to know who is here so that we can all be aware. As for my media colleagues, so far we have the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, GTV. Thank you very much for coming. And then also Daily Graphic. Thank you also for joining us. Radio Universe. Thank you for coming, and other media houses that are also joining us online. Thank you very much. Reuters, the BBC, and then AFP, and then the Africa Report. Thank you very much for joining us. I would also call on the regional director to give us some introductions of our dignitaries. So please welcome him with a round of applause. Also joining us online. Thank you very much. Reuters, the BBC, and then AFP, and then the Africa Report. Thank you very much for joining us. I would also
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone.
Give us some introductions.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm pleased to take the opportunity to introduce and welcome two of my board members, our chair, Professor Akosua Adomako, who is here with us. Thank you very much. Professor Akosua Adomako Ampofo. Please wave. Pleased to take the opportunity. And then I have Mrs. Efia Sewa, who is also Asantewa. Our chair, Professor Akosua Adomako, who's also with us. Dr. Kojo Asante, who is CDD, Director of Advocacy, CDD. Professor Duku Osei, who is former VC, UBITS, and now with University of Ghana. We also have NUC's President, Mr. Rashid, who is also honoring his presence here. We are grateful for your coming, and we want to take this opportunity to, again, to apologize for the late start of the program. We wanted to make sure we have a good number of the invitees present with us. Now, without taking much of our time, I want to take the opportunity to tell a little story about ACAF, that is Africa Coalition for Academic Freedom, and how we got to where we are today with this particular press conference. ACAF was born in August 2024 and officially launched in March of the following year. Our vision is to be the leading regional defender of academic freedom in Africa through fostering a culture of respect for academic freedom and serving as a catalyst for democracy, science, and sustainable development on the continent. We seek to realize this goal through collaboration with members, partners, and relevant stakeholders to formulate academic freedom principles that speak directly to the African experience. Also to develop advocacy strategies for democracy and interventions, and build supportive political constituencies outside the confines of the university to promote academic freedom. ACAF recognizes that the state of academic freedom in Africa is dictated to by the coloniality of its higher education landscape, which has affected the ability of the African university or higher education space to realize its raison d'etre, and which has then affected the ecosystem for the exercise of academic freedom. So the idea of coming up with setting up ACAF is to provide a mechanism whereby we can present unique perspectives on the academic freedom landscape on the continent of Africa. Important initiatives have already been taken up by Codestra, for example, in helping to come up with two major documents on academic freedom, which is the Dar es Salaam document and then the Kampala Declaration also on academic freedom. Codestra has also undertaken some research in terms of trying to understand or to do some fact-finding on academic freedom in Africa. But what ACAF has sought to do is to place special attention on monitoring as part of its activities. And by monitoring, we're talking about fact-finding, data gathering, and verification of information regarding academic freedom violations. And not only ending there, but documenting and processing, as well as compiling the data we collect, and out of that develop and undertake advocacy actions. When you look at academic freedom monitoring across the globe, generally they are in the context of focusing the discussion or the research on civil and political rights-based issues in the context of academic freedom, such as killings, violence, disappearances, wrongful imprisonment, detention, wrongful prosecution, restrictions on travel or movement, and retaliatory discharge or loss of position. This focuses on the state as a duty bearer and the university and academics and students as the rights holders. However, we have come to realize that there are other actors that also violate academic freedom, such as non-state actors. We can talk about even criminal gangs and warring factions and terror groups and religious bodies. So it is important also to look within the university, where university management can also be violators of academic freedom, and in fact are monitoring captures such incidents. And academics also violating the rights of students, as well as students being responsible for also violating academic freedom of the university and of academics. And so it is important to look at all these factors and actors in a holistic fashion. And that is one of the things that ACAF's monitoring seeks to do. Then we also try to, apart from the civil and political rights cases, to also look at economic, social, and cultural dimensions of academic freedom. Because academic freedom connects, for example, to right to education, and then the right to science, which are in the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. So for the violations that we have covered, the incidents that we have covered, we don't limit them to only violations, but also to what we call positive developments. And at this juncture, we'll turn to our slides to be able to give some details about the information we captured for the year 2025. So we will look at the slides to be able to continue with our discussion on and to submit and present our reports, which is in the document that we have produced. So can we get a full screen? If you click slide. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so the report covers from January to December 2025. And this screen represents who ACAF is and what we do, which we have mentioned at least part of it, so we'll go to the next slide. The methodology that was used is mainly is internet-based. So we have 5 monitors. The whole continent was divided into 5 regions, based on the 5 regions that we have on the continent already. Each monitor was assigned to one of the regions to do monthly reports of violations. But this is also supplemented by in-country contacts that also submit reports of incidents to us. Now, when the incidents are received, we filter them and we corroborate the evidence, the incidents received, to ensure that they really happened and that they are verifiable. After which, we give the go-ahead for them to be published and for us to use that for our analysis. Can we have the next slide? So you can see the incidents that we monitored, and it is broadened to cover activities of non-state actors, conflict and political instability. Demotion and loss of position is one of the conventional ones that are covered. Imprisonment is one of the conventional ones. Killings, violence, disappearances. But we include, as I said, the economic, social, and cultural rights issues. So poor infrastructure, facilities, equipment are covered. Poor university governance, poor working conditions, student abuse. These are the new areas that we capture, or indicators that we capture. In addition, we also want to look at the positive sides. So among that, we look at policy, legislation by the government in the area of academic freedom. And then jurisprudence, decisions by the courts that talk about improvements or protecting academic freedom. University initiatives, that is statutes and other steps taken by particular universities, are also captured as positive developments, and others. Overall, for the year 2025, we captured a total of 341 incidents. And these cover both violations as well as positive developments. And the violation rate, as you can see, is very high, 72%. And we calculated the violation rate looking at the number of violations over 341 as a total incidents times 100. So it means that positive development will be 18% for the whole year 2025. We covered all the 25 countries in Africa, but unfortunately our lenses could only cover 28 countries. And that means that the information that we have covering these 28 countries are what we used for our analysis. There are different reasons why we couldn't get information from all the 54. And it's based on our experience, we'll be able to extend that to cover a larger field in 2026. So our next report will be able to identify some of these gaps. So when we do the breakdown, West Africa, you can see the numbers there, and then the violation rates. West Africa is the sub-region that was most covered. East Africa is next, 63 total. North Africa followed by, that is 31. Southern Africa, 46. And then Central Africa, 21. So the violation rates are those at the extreme end. Next slide. So you can see some visuals here. And so for West Africa, the same information that we have there is being captured here in the form of a graph. Shall we go to next slides? So the annual violation rate by sub-region is also captured here. So Central Africa is a region that we have the most captured incidents of violations, 86%, followed by Southern Africa, North Africa, East Africa, West Africa being the region that had the least number of violations. Top countries by violations, Nigeria unfortunately tops the list, followed by Uganda and so on. And the list is Libya. Shall we go to the next slide? Violations by indicator type. So one of the incidents that we are capturing for this year, but which came out clearly during the 2025 monitoring, is financial failures. Corruption, we noticed, is a major problem in academia, and it has a strong impact on academic freedom. Fee hikes and so on, which we capture as financial failures. Poor university governance, 60 cases. Working conditions, 45 cases. Conflict instability, 8 cases. Poor infrastructure cases, we also have them. And so this is the violations that we have by way of indicator type. Next slide. So here we highlight some violations. What we do is that at the end of the month, when we capture the incidents, those that stand out, and it's not to say that some violations are more important than others, but because we cannot capture everything, we identify about 10 of the major incidents, and then we highlight them. So among these, there's this fatal shooting incident at Walter Sisulu University of a student, which is connected to a residence manager at that university. And it triggered the intervention of the High Court in that country. Next slide. Institutional negligence was also identified in Libya at the University of Tripoli. So we have the incident involving a female pharmacy student who died after being compelled to write exams, and even though she wasn't medically fit. Next slide. Nigeria's staff union, they had a number of labor disputes, and one of them is also highlighted here, totaling covering a period of 16 years. Please change the slide. Military sweep at Bamenda. This is Cameroon, where we also have about 70 students arrested during a military sweep by the military and some security forces in that country. And there's some. Okay, so this is also a professor who was detained at a university in Cameroon after the national elections, which is connected to the fact that he was deemed to be associated with a particular political party. Some positive developments, policy and legislation, we had 50 initiatives captured, 5 cases under jurisprudence. For others, 10 programs relating to scholarship infrastructure, and then in university programs that also looked positive in terms of promoting human rights, academic freedom in particular. So we highlight a few of those developments as well, positive developments. Ghana's no-fee stress policy caught our attention, where the government launched a no-fee stress policy covering a number of first-year students, totaling 156,000. And then the costs is about 150 million. Namibia also introduced a free tertiary education. They already have it, but they expanded or deepened the extension of the program to cover other students as well. Nigeria also invested some programs in education, which was also captured as a positive development. Incidentally, Nigeria seems to be a paradox. In terms of violations, they topped, but there are also some positive developments that's highlighted. Cameroon's also that's an interesting case where some PhD doctoral students after their programs were put on hold for a number of years, they were able to resume. The programs were recommenced, and so they were able to continue their PhD works in across the country, involving 11 universities. Guinea also, they have the platform unique de documentation, which is to provide access to resources for students and academics, and this we recognize represents an important achievement in accessing education materials in the country. Then Gambia also passed a law which is supposed to promote access to funding for higher education in the country. So these are some highlights from the Gambia, from across the continent, which indicated positive trends. Now we want to look at some key insights of the findings that we were able to capture for the year. In general, we noticed institutional governance failures and repression by the states. The states identified as the most single consistent threats to academic freedom. We will come to that in a minute, but here institutional governance failures and repression is considered as one of the key threats to academic freedom across all the 5 regions. And so it means, it indicates a worrying trend when institutional failures, which we see in governance, in general, national politics, also reflected within the university space. And it's interesting to also note how in such situations or in those universities, we see strong or weak institutional autonomy. In other words, the government is able to penetrate the state, the university governance, and therefore we see the link between the nature of democracy within the larger states is reflected, or we see that also reflected within the university space. And it's a very, very worrying trend. So we also see in West Africa, we had the most positive momentum across the year, driven by policies that seek to improve access to education and generally in the field of economic, social, and cultural rights. And we see Ghana and Nigeria highlighted here. Then Uganda, we have what we call the April 2025 sweep. Uganda remains the continent's most concentrated single-month academic freedom crisis. And so this is a period when the government prohibited or banned a number of courses on university campuses and even banned the teaching of law at Makerere University, which they are still fighting over. So in H1, that is first half of the year, Southern Africa, 94%, North Africa 100%, recorded the highest violations in the first part of 2025. Next slide. Okay, so in the second half, violations overall fell. First half, 79% to 58% in the second half, that is July to December. And it suggests that advocacy activities played a role in that, and particularly North Africa and West Africa. And so it means that one of the importance of monitoring is that when we get the information, we act on them, but not just reporting. Some positives are recorded. Then violence and security threats remain a problem, particularly in Nigeria. And in Nigeria, it covers non-state actors like Boko Haram and other criminal gang activities. Also DRC, Cameroon, because of the conflicts in those parts of the world. Next slide. Financial failures, as we said, played a major role, something that we captured and a lot of these countries covered. And as I said, scholarship corruption and so on is something that were highlighted. Student deaths were also recorded, sometimes due to institutional negligence. And so that is also a problem that we need to pay attention to. And then the Trump administration's U.S. aid freeze also disrupted research programs. We mentioned Makerere, but it covers other places as well, including Liberia and other countries, which Lesotho and so on, which were overly reliant on support from the U.S. Now, here we want to look at violator types, and it reflects or captures what has been a hypothesis, that the state is the largest violator of academic freedom. 55 to 60% of the incidents recorded involved violations by the state. Then universities also are major violators. They come next, between 25 to 30%. And then non-state actors, criminal gangs, and so on, 8 to 10%. Academics as perpetrators or as violators, 3 to 5%. And the lowest from students as violators, less than 2%. So overall, 80 to 90% of all violations documented in 2025 were committed by the state, which is extremely high. So, including the university administration. So the two are the major violators. So it indicates that we need to look at advocacy strategies targeting these two actors in particular. Next slide. Okay. In response to the monitoring findings that we had, certain actions were taken. For example, we wrote to government officials, even to the head of states in some of these countries. Some, depending on the nature of the issue, it was limited to the university administrators. So letters were written on behalf of Zimbabwe, Lecturers Association, Cameroon. There were an incident involving a lecturer who was targeted, and her promotion was affected. In actual fact, she got demoted. Comoros, similar situation there. And Lesotho, where there were threats against somebody appointed to help in the finding a new lecturer for the University of Lesotho. So in all of this, we also, apart from sending letters and asking for investigations into some of these issues, we also engaged the African Commission, 2 rapporteurs, one the right to education and one on the right freedom of expression, to discuss academic freedom issues and to talk about the African principles on academic freedom, which we are developing. And we are happy to note that they are interested in supporting the African principles to convert it into a resolution of the commission. And for Zimbabwe, we also had to go to the extent of making a case before the Special Rapporteur on Freedom of Expression at the UN. And also we are currently supporting them for litigation at their Supreme Court against the states. We used our social media platforms and online platforms as well to highlight these major incidents on a regular basis, so as to bring attention to the world as a way of naming and shaming and hoping to trigger reactions from the states and the other violators. Next slide. Here we want to highlight the particular case of Zimbabwe. And just this morning, when I contacted one of the leaders of the union, he sent me this message, which I decided to add to the slides. He says, meanwhile, life has become quite difficult without a salary. So they are not being paid, especially the leaders of the unions. Their pay have been taken away from them. All the few resources we had saved are depleted. As I told you, I'm doing some vending, but with the poverty in the country, the business is extremely low. Just recently, my primary school daughter went back to school without school fees and other essentials. But we are fighting on. I still have some energy to keep fighting, but our government is hard-hearted. They are punishing us for complaining. And it made me refer to this song by Bob Marley, and he says, Africans are liberating Zimbabwe, so we need to fight for Zimbabwe. Their case is a special one. So, and it's all because of government's attempt to extend power, and then other issues relating to controlling the university, even taking some to ideological institutes to reorient them so that they would not be stubborn. And then in Malawi, there's also this special incident where the government is parachuting state officials that they as a means of punishment into the universities to teach into academia. And so it looks like they don't have any space for them anymore. And so they are rather bringing them into the university as teachers. Meanwhile, these are not qualified teachers or with the experience to teach. Some are also used as a reward for especially the lower ranked government officials as a way of giving them incentives. So it is a problem, and it is described as parachuting these officials into the university, and it's going to dilute the quality of higher education there, as well as also preventing other lecturers from being free to criticize the government in any shape or form within the university space, because they certainly may serve as an ear to the government as a way of winning back the trust of the government. Next slide. So we come to realize that advocacy works. And here I want to highlight a few cases, some that have been taken by civil society actors on their own, and also some that went to the court. So in South Africa, the death of this student at Walter Sisulu University has triggered a response from the High Court, and it is receiving positive feedback. So we believe when the matter is resolved, it is certainly going to promote students' academic freedom on campuses. In Egypt, at Banya University, a student was denied teaching appointment, and the administrative court overturned that decision. So I think that is also something positive. Nigeria, ASU's labor disputes, their continued struggle for the past 16 years has yielded some results. And then in Ethiopia, a professor is fighting a case with the support of Amnesty International against some algorithm-related matters. And we have this case. This lady was with us last year at a conference we held for academic staff union leaders. And she's one of the persons that we said got demoted or the promotion suspended. Fortunately, a few weeks ago, through the letters that we wrote, among others, we received this positive note from her saying that it's with great pleasure to say that through the support of ACAF and representatives, through the solidarity shown, when we wrote this letter, we added the list of all the academic staff unions to the letter. And he said as a result, her promotion, he has received a positive response, and that she's received a promotion from the Minister of State and Minister of Higher Education. And so saying thank you, thank you, thank you. Long live Intercontinental Solidarity, and long live ACAF. So this is a positive message. When advocacy is triggered, it can work. And so we're hoping that there'll be more such results this year and in the years to come through response to the violations that we highlight. So going forward, we're hoping to place a special emphasis here on working with the media, because most of the information, about 90% at this moment, comes from the media. And last year we did a special training session for the media in Ghana. We want to extend it to different parts of the continent, so that we notice that academic freedom is a specialized right, or is a right that is not in the general realm of rights that we talk about. So sometimes the media do not capture it. And when the monitors are looking for the information, it can be a little bit tricky. So we give them some keywords that they can use broadly to be able to narrow down on cases which may be an academic freedom case, but the way it is framed, you may not see it unless you are trained to look for such information. So we are hoping that we'll be able to collaborate with the media to investigate and report academic freedom violations in universities and research institutions. Sometimes the issue may not be maybe sensational or something that may capture the readership, but it is very important that we highlight academic freedom issues because at the end of the day, it affects the society as a whole. So platform for scholars, students, and academic unions to express concerns and share experiences. We're hoping that they will have more of such reports. And another thing that we also realize is that when we come across incidents, we want to get to the victims and to be able to discuss how we can, what kind of advocacy can best work for them. And so getting to the media to get such information sometimes is difficult. And so we are hoping that we can make a breakthrough and be able to not just report, but do actual advocacy work in that respect. So, and we are also looking at maybe providing a special prize for journalists when it comes to their yearly awards, so that we can say an award for best report on academic freedom or higher education, so that journalists can pay more attention to academic freedom issues in that sense. Next slide. I think we have just one or two more. Okay, so that is will bring us to the end of our report. And so to help promote academic freedom, we can become a member as an individual or through your organization. And the information is available on our website. I think the next slide will also give us some information about how we can contact us through our various platforms and also on our webpage. So on that note, I want to thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Kwadwo Appiagyei-Etua. He is the Regional Director of the Africa Coalition for Academic Freedom. And on that note, I'd like to call the chairperson of the Africa Coalition for Academic Freedom Governing Board, Professor Akosua Adomako Ampofo, to officially launch the report. Please welcome her.
Thank you very, very much. I'm going to make a few remarks, just a few, because there are others who have a few things to say, and my assignment was to do a launch. As I was looking at the report yesterday, I just felt so proud to be associated with ACAF, because it's an amazing amount of work that has been done. And also, I imagine that as people were doing the research, it would have been triggering at some point to read and to discover a lot of the pain and the challenges that individuals have gone through. But of course, also heartening to hear the positive stories. And so I'd like to do two things. One is to remind us about the importance of academic freedom. I think that very often, and that is not primarily for the people in this room or online, because I think I would be preaching to the choir, but for others who might be paying attention, hopefully, and are asking this academic freedom thing, what at all is it about? How does it affect the price of kinke or chapati or whatever? Chapati, sorry. So the right for us to do research and to study, whether we are the teachers or whether we are the students who might also become teachers, is really that opportunity to understand our societies, to dig into science without fear and with support. And most of what we enjoy in terms of development has come through education. We have understood our societies, we have analyzed them, we have discovered problems, and we've attended to those. And without academic freedom, that becomes impossible. Whether it's about the water that we drink, whether it's understanding social deviance, whatever it is, you need academic freedom. So, especially when we're addressing high risk and controversial issues that people may not understand and may not want to pay attention to, and as we've seen from our work, that governments may be unlikely to want to promote because it addresses their own shortcomings. We need academic freedom in order to pursue that. Critical thinking, teaching us to understand outside the box, is essential if societies are to thrive. And without academic freedom, we are compelled to sit in a little box. Everybody should do what the government, the state, the managers of higher education institutions want people to do. And then we're all thinking alike, like robots, and we're not promoting our societies. And of course, diversity is also important. Without academic freedom, we're not having diversity in disciplines, we're not having diversity in the questions we ask. If we're all studying the same thing, what progress are we making? And of course, academic freedom promotes democratic societies. Right? We can debate what democracy is, but the opportunities for us to interrogate our societies, even the laws that trouble us or the laws that support us, come from a democratic space. And for us to understand the laws that are passed in societies, in countries, in communities, we need academic freedom spaces in order to do that. I want to, before I do the formal launch, I will also want to highlight a few things that are very unique to ACAF's work, because ACAF is not the only organization that's looking at issues of academic freedom. Obviously, the most essential that is like, sure, it's called Africa by its name. So it's specific to Africa. We're looking at our continent, our countries, our societies, our people, and ACAF's work allows us to understand our situation in our context, our very specific, unique socio-cultural and political context. And we have seen that there are 5 sub-regions that are being examined, and so we can see the differences across Africa. Something else that is unique to the ACAF's work is highlighting positive developments. And if not for anything else, we need positive stories to engender hope that things can change. So we see the results of advocacy, whether of institutions, organizations, or individuals, and tracking these positive developments beyond the hope that it gives us also shows us that advocacy can work. It gives us some pointers as to what we can do when similar situations arise. And then we can be intentional with our interventions. Another unique aspect is the fact that the data are provided not only on an annual basis, but half yearly. So we can engender interventions and on a more regular basis, more speedily. And of course, the advocacy-oriented outputs are directly also linked. I'm not sure whether we heard that this morning, but they are directly linked, collaborative work with the African Union, with the UN. I think Prof told us about work with the UN and other submission processes. So it's not just working with the institutions, but it's working with higher bodies, bringing cases to their attention and demanding action. And very significantly, many studies do not pay attention to academic freedom of students. We tend to look at, the faculty and the administrators. And so tracking what is happening to students and students' own responses and highlighting issues of mental health that are affecting students, I believe is an extremely positive aspect unique to ACAF's work. So on that note, I am extremely pleased to launch this 2025 report on academic freedom monitoring in Africa. And please join me in applauding ACAF as this report is duly launched. And there's a pair of scissors here, so I presume that I'm supposed to cut it all. Is somebody joining me to do the cutting? I should come this way. Prof, please. Normally we're cutting for buildings, but I think this is even more momentous than a building. It lives on in our souls and our spirits. So this morning with a snip, 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 this report is duly launched.
Heep, heep, heep. All right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. All right, yes. That was Professor Akosua Adomako Ampofo, the chair of the Africa Coalition for Academic Freedom Governing Board, ACAF. And she has also just launched this 2025 report. If you go to the website from today, you will find a copy, and then you too can read to know all the things that Prof spoke about. And our contacts are also on the website. You can link up with us. Our website is www.acafafrica.org. www.acaf, then africa.org. When you get there, you can also read the report, and you can also know what is happening about academic freedom in Africa. Let's take a few remarks as well. So would like to start with Dr. Kojo Asante, the Director for Advocacy and Policy Engagement at the Center for Democratic Development, CDD, that is hosting us here today.
Thank you very much. I think let me also add my congratulations on behalf of our Executive Director and the management of CDD for this really important piece of work, Professor Tia and his team. I mean, one of the reasons why we collaborated with ACAF at the inception phase and agreed to host ACAF was that we really wanted an organization, from what CDD has experienced over the years, to have an institution that was systematically tracking issues of academic freedom through research, analysis, advocacy. And just to see this work, that's exactly the vision that Prof had, and I'm really happy to see the product come out as great as it has. Just a few things. I've been reflecting a bit on the indicators and trying, for somebody who's engaged with advocacy all the time, I'm trying to see what stories we should be telling, where should we put our efforts now that we have data. And I really like the broad factors that ACAF, this monitoring report, is covering, beyond what we normally look at in terms of, rights, political rights and freedoms, as we've talked about. But I was also torn whether I should weight it between the issues of student rights, the issues of, financial obligations, which is a very peculiar well, I don't know if which other regions have, but in Africa, even paying salaries is a major part, and as we've seen in the case of Zimbabwe, it can be instrumentalized and weaponized to impact on academic freedom. So, but I thought even students' rights and what is happening in terms of what's happening on the campuses and so on, it's itself a whole area that needs to be monitored. And then you talk about the governance issues around universities and all of that, which also is something that has. So I'm just wondering, as ACAF monitoring methodologies sort of evolve, I really want to see more in these categories as distinct. It helps us to also be able to sort of sharpen our advocacy interventions going forward. Yeah, I think the report reflects also this general deterioration in governance standards and democracy across the continent. We used to worry about West Africa. We are seeing challenges in East Africa. We're seeing challenges in Southern Africa. So these are not really good times. But it's also a reminder that the agenda is not just about keeping our campuses safe from political intervention, that we cannot have academic freedom if the environment of democracy and governance is deteriorating. It's a very difficult challenge. It cannot be an island. So it's really a call on how we are going to strengthen the collaborations between academics, civil society, researchers, media, and all the different stakeholders that ensure and enable good, democratic governance. And I think how ACAF builds that connection. Like today, I would have loved to see even more civil society actors who are working in the DNG environment here, because they need to understand that we are all in this together. The more people are free to able to express thought, express themselves, to have free speech, we will not even know how much of the galamsey water is affecting the food that we eat. Because if that is against a government's position or whatever, you cannot say it. So this goes down to survival as human beings when we start talking about academic freedom, because so much of what is happening on university campuses impact on our lives, and we have to look at that. And so just to say that for me, it's what we do with the report, and I was really happy, Prof, to see all what you're already doing in terms of engaging universities, governments at the regional level and so on. But we are happy to continue to work with you. How can we bring in, as I said, more of the broader DNG space into understanding the connections between what you are doing and what we are all doing in terms of trying to counter authoritarianism and democracy decline and to advance freedoms and good governance. So again, congratulations and a luta continua.
Thank you. Dr. Kojo Asante, Director of Policy, Engagement and Advocacy at the CDD. Let me acknowledge quickly some guests that we have online. We have the UTAG, that's the University Teachers Association of Ghana, the national body. We have the Administrative Secretary, Dr. Abdul Hamid. He's online. Thank you for joining us, Doc. And then we also have ACAF board member, Professor Lisa Laxo, also online. Thank you very much. Then the the Executive Director of Afrobarometer, Dr. Joseph Asuka, he's also online. Yeah, and then we also have the Program Officer of Africa Education Watch, EduWatch, Mr. Kwesi Nimo Jr., also online. Thank you all for joining us in this discussion. As Dr. Asante said, he wanted to see more of the CSOs, and they are online. Some of them are online. Thank you. Would also like to, is Rashid still around? Nooks, you are representing him. Okay, so kindly come and then also give us a few remarks from the perspective of students, the National Union of Ghana students. And kindly introduce yourself for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning. My name is Titus Osudakon. I'm the NUC Secretary responsible for innovation, entrepreneurship, and skills development. As the APEC students body representing over 13.5 million Ghanaian students, both home and abroad, we are very, very grateful and then very, very happy to be a part of this particular development. Last year, the NUC's president then brought delegation here. We had a training, an awesome training being facilitated by Professor Appiagyei Etua, and it was very, very impressive and educative as well. We are very, very happy to be a part of this. And then I think that since this particular monitoring report is going to be officially launched or is going to be in existence, we believe that it would not only ensure democratic processes, but it would also be a backbone of Ghanaian students. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Titus, right? General Secretary of National Union of Ghana Students. Thank you very much. We also have Dr. Kenneth Nyangena. He's an ACAF member, and he's also joining us online. Thank you. All right. Let's now have a question and answer session. If you have any questions about the report that has been launched, or you want to understand anything about ACAF's work, or any other thing that is connected to what we have done here today, this is the time for you to do that. If you're online, you can send your comments, or IABI, if we're able to pick them. All right, maybe that's why I'm now echoing. All right, so waiting for any questions.
With your permission, I could just take a minute to make a comment. This is Dr. Kenneth Nyangena, an ACAF member from Kenya.
Right, you can proceed.
Thank you very much. I want to be associated with ACAF and thank the team led by Professor Kwadu for this wonderful report. I want to speak to very quickly 2 or 3 things. I know my colleagues have mentioned about them. Let me try to say that the start of this problem in Africa is what has been identified as poor governance. And for us in Kenya, I look at the way the government is involved in the selection of the managers in public universities in particular. I wish we could develop a criteria to have independent scholars heading institutions. Because what happens in most of our institutions is that those that are managers, the DVCs, the vice chancellors, even the council boards, are normally given these jobs by politicians through the Ministry of Education. And that's where we start losing the question of the autonomy of our institutions. This is very closely related to the financial mismanagement. And we realized that majority of the universities are unable to get enough money, in particular for research. And because of that lack of autonomy, the third and last issue that I want to speak to is the question of critical thinking among especially our students. I have listened, I have gone through that report, and that would be the reason why we have violations. Both lecturers who want to venture into areas that are not acceptable to most governments in place, and also the students who want to think critically, and in particular, critique the government in place, all the institutions. Finally, the question of funding. And I think it is good that institutions concentrate more on money for research, because this is the only way students can get an orientation to delve into the new areas. And when you look at this report, it is a wonderful thing for the African continent, because also we want into the question of research and deal with emerging issues. So I wanted to support and say, if we can find a way for this report to reach, for example, once I get it, I'm going to ensure that all the public institutions and even private institutions in Kenya get to read and get to know more about ECAD. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much as well. Dr. Kenneth Nyangina from Kenya. He is an ECAF member there. Thank you very much. We also have Dr. Meli Dubey. He is from the University of Western Cape, in South Africa. He's also online. Doc, thank you very much for joining us. If you can hear me, would you like to make a few remarks about today's report launch? Hello, Doc. All right, as and when we get him to speak, or if you've forgotten to unmute, maybe kindly check for us. Otherwise, we would continue with the question and answers. If you have any question, any clarification you would like to be made for you, we would like to have it now. Then we will take the closing remarks from the regional director. Any questions? All right. Online, do we have any questions, Aivia? All right, I don't think so. So I'll call on Professor Kwejo Appiagyei-Tuah to give us the closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be back here. We are using the launch of this report to also commemorate and mark the 25th anniversary of Scholars at Risk. Scholars at Risk is one of our major partners, and in fact, it was the Scholars at Risk idea, that led to the development of regional coalitions. So in addition to the Africa Coalition, we also have the Coalition for the Americas, and then another one for Southeast Asia. And so as Scholars at Risk, or SAR, celebrates its 25th anniversary, it is important for us to highlight the achievements and the relationship that we have with them. It is an international network of over 600 universities, colleges, and associations, and countless advocates that span across over 50 countries of the continent. Their collective mission is to promote academic freedom and protect threatened scholars. For institutional representatives today, if an institution is interested in joining the global SAR network, we can reach out to SAR through ECAF or directly to SAR online to explore membership pathways. Over the past 25 years, SAR has supported thousands of at-risk scholars. It has documented attacks on higher education in over 100 countries and advocated for stronger protections for academic freedom worldwide. And as it says, looking for better ways to promote it, they matter because they structure the process of inquiry, debate and dissemination, freedom to enjoy and to obtain agency and satisfaction when decisions are made, and these decisions should be grounded in knowledge, evidence, and reason. So on behalf of scholars at risk, we want to say congratulations to the network for what it has achieved up to this point. And for us, ECAF, we are pleased to partner with SAR, just as we partner with CDD to be able to realize some of the important achievements that we have set for ourselves. And so in any case, if you are interested in connecting with SAR, ECAF is the channel that will enable us to do that linkage as well. So on that note, we want to thank you, and first of all, we want to thank our monitors. Unfortunately, they are not here. Esther Ado, Mary Enim, Edwina Boachi, Ruth Maoli, and Benis Japoma for taking the time on a monthly basis to submit these critical reports to us. We are also grateful to those who did the corroboration of the research that the findings that we shared with them. And I'm also grateful to my team, a small team for holding the whole of the continent on our shoulders. Ellie, Bia, Conrad, and myself, and our governing board members. We are always happy to have some of them today with us and always supporting us in everything that we do. We also have some online. And ECAF members, as we said, we thrive on membership. So if you are here, you are not a member, please go online, click get involved. It takes 2-3 minutes to become a member, which is free. And you have access to critical information on the subject matter of academic freedom. So we are grateful for the presence of the media. We are grateful for invited guests, those online and in person. And we hope that this will be another step towards building coalitions and developing relationships for the good of promoting academic freedom. And as our objective is, we define all the actors that work in these fields. Thank you once again for coming.
Thank you, Prof. And finally, Ellie says, Prof has already done the vote of thanks. Our project officer, Ellie claim, da, do, za.
Thank you, Conrad. Yes, I think, so on behalf of ECAF, we want to thank our governing board for being a backbone and standing with us throughout this journey so far. And we are hopeful that you are always going to be with us. Thank you so much. We also want to thank our partners. We want to thank our stakeholders and everybody who made time to be with us today. We want to also thank the press for being with us, and we are so grateful to them for hoping that this report would go a long way in ensuring that the findings reached a wider audience and contribute to meaningful dialogue and action across the continent. We also want to extend our appreciation to our partners and other stakeholders, and especially those who were able to join us online, and also contributed to the production of this report. Your commitment and other inputs and your collaboration made this work very possible. We want to thank everyone again for making time to be with us. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Just giving it the final. Hello, Doc. Right. Yes, please.
We also would like to echo, I think, congratulating ECAF, in such a short space of time to have done this much. I work for the African University Park for Human Rights at the University of the Western Cape in South Africa. And I found this report informative and important, particularly because it addressed a broader question beyond the individual figure. So I just said a few observations, but just to stay you at the places that you have just at the end. I think the most important thing, finding for us, is that governance failure and state action account for the overwhelming majority of violations. I think that's the statement that this report made quite strongly. So this, to us, it points to the issue, the challenge is not only how to protect individual academics and students' competence. It is also how to strengthen universities themselves as autonomous institutions, democratic space and size of protection. The report highlights that universities are not only victims of external pressures from states and political networks, in many cases state pressure. So to us, we adopt a deliberate stance to try and strengthen universities across Africa in the democratic essence, because to guarantee academic freedom, it takes securing the broader civic freedoms, the broader democratic practice across the country, particularly next year. A bit of more discussion around, why some of these positive changes, are fragile. Is it because they are not guaranteed by structural changes? Is it because they are caused by temporary political changes in the countries? So understanding these dynamics of strength and report, even further, I think, moving forward. But I don't want to critique and pour water on such a sterling job that I think ECAF has done in such a short space of time. I think overall it is a valuable and much needed contribution to understanding academic freedom in Africa. I encourage it to continue building, not only on the monitoring function, but also the analytical dimension, which is a bit I think that I mentioned, particularly around the issue of what is it that is leading to effectivity of some of these changes. How do we actually attribute, these changes to advocacy and also to other factors across the continent, so that we're much more aware of what has got to change. At the moment, we're very clear about the drivers of a more positive change. So, Prof. Kwajo, and other people that you work with, thank you so much for this product that you put for it, and I think we can interact further on other platforms.
Thank you very much, Dr. Merle Dubé from the University of Western Cape in South Africa. Thank you, and on that note, we are calling it a great day of launching the maiden report of the ECAF Academic Freedom Monitoring Report for 2025. Thank you all for coming. Just visit our website, as we've already announced, www.ecafafrica.org. And when you go there, you will see lots of the detailed reports on this one. Is just an aggregate, very cumulative, and so just go there. You can find specific incidents, and then also you can find research articles on academic freedom. You can find advocacy efforts that Prof mentioned, and you can also follow us on Facebook or on the LinkedIn at Africa Coalition for Academic Freedom, and you can see our updates. Thank you all for coming. We will have a photo opportunity outside, and on that note, I wish you all the best. Bye-bye.